The Lost Cryptids Conservatory, where we will shatter your reality to bring you closer to the truth.
All right, guys, welcome back to another live show. Our special guest today is Mark Zaskey himself from Crypto Reality. So, Mark, what got you into Bigfoot, man? What got you started in this whole adventure?
I'm nuts. No, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great to see you guys again, and it was great hanging out when you were down here too. And I look forward to doing it again. What got me into it was like, I love the wilderness, right? So growing up in Ohio, my brother and I were always trying to get in it, you know, and we used to camp in the North Woods with my grandfather in Grayling. And there's a big lake there, and there's an island, and they used to do, I don't know if they still do, but they used to do army drills on the island. And so for 2 weeks, the National Guard every year would go there. We'd camp in the summer at Grayling at the campground, and my grandfather would be at the military base doing his drills. And we found a like probably 18 and a half, 19-inch track, my brother and I, in the woods one day. And I just remember thinking, you know, it was kind of freaked me out because there was a movie out called Sasquatch, Leave Him Alone. And it was like at the theater at the time. This is going way back. Now we're talking about 1970s, boys, right? This is the 1970s, right? And so anyway, we saw that movie and we got terrified when we found that track, you know. It was like we were just kids, you know. But I was fascinated from that minute on. So it was like anything that ever came on, I was into it. I was like a cryptozoologist before I ever even got into it or even knew what the word was. You know, I was like studying it everywhere I could, you know. So I've been fascinated with cryptozoology and the field science of cryptozoology all my life. And moving to Florida was just, you know, perfect for me because it was crazy in the 1970s, in the early 1980s with the development. And the first week I moved into Florida, down the street from our house, some horses were attacked. We lived in an equestrian community, and the sheriffs were coming and guns were being fired, and we were at the bus stop and we heard all this going on, and a couple of us ran down there, and the police a couple of them were coming back out to the vehicle, and they were upset that we were approaching the scene and telling us we needed to get away. And we were like, what's going on? What's going on? And he said that a huge, hairy, gray monkey man was attacking horses. And so it was like real. All of a sudden it was like, it's real. And so the whole school was talking about it, and then it was on the news and all this stuff was going on. And so it's been a part of my life since I was a kid.
Wow, that's incredible. So I know you and your wife Melody started Crypto Reality a few years ago. Take us through a basic summary of your work and what led you to where you're at today, and this expedition with Carrie, the 168 hours Bigfoot Odyssey.
Yeah. In 2005, I started Crypto Reality because I was approached. I was planning Bigfoot expeditions, and I was approached by a gentleman who's from Florida, and he had some really high quality footage, and a lot of it, of a marine cryptid. And so I reviewed the footage, and I was like, I've been out in this environment my whole life. This is something that's not been identified. It was a marine mammal. So I took the footage and I broke it down, and I contacted Nova Southeastern University, and we were going to work with those guys to try to validate this new species of marine mammal. But it went south when the guy wanted money for the footage instead of the science. He wasn't focused, and we literally had Nova Southeastern ready to fully fund an expedition to validate this creature. They just wanted publishing rights on what it was. And they were even going to let this guy name it and everything. I mean, this was fully going to happen. And it got made into a Monster Quest episode instead, and he got paid, and it got debunked into it's just manatees. And it was clearly not manatees. But at that time, I went right back into Bigfoot. And so I started, focusing on that and reviewing eyewitness encounters, and cryptozoology became like a study for me. And then I started going into the field actually in about 2011. 2012 was when I started to undertake field expeditions, and on to some degree of success finding tracks immediately. My son had an encounter in Myakka State Park on one of our expeditions where he was full-blown Class A eyewitness now at this point, reported it to the park. My first encounter was a year later. Big guy jumped a trail in front of me, and I got to see him in action. And that really is what triggered the Bigfoot Researchers Journal. And I met Melanie, and we moved into taking the blog into the field and shooting episodes of the Bigfoot Researchers Journal. So that was 6.5, almost 7 years now, and about, I don't know, 300 something films ago. And a lot of expeditions, man. We've undertaken over 600 expeditions in 7 years. In 2015, we hiked several hundred miles just on the weekends and the afternoons. It was nuts. And then, once we found the places that, we felt we had the best shot of researching through tracks and physical evidence, we began to shoot the areas and try to understand better how it was that we were able to find all these tracks, but we could not see any individuals that were leaving them. So that was where our whole angle ended up today. And you can see that on Patreon. What we discovered is how they hide. And that's what we focused on in our study for 6 years. And so that led us into achromatic theory and diffusion and all that stuff. And then we started finding hair samples that corroborated these theories, and it all moved forward from there.
Yeah, that's right. Did a lot. I remember first watching you on YouTube and talking to you and all this, and just seeing you guys, what you guys done from then and now is just a whole nother level and stuff. So you guys really have just kept improving, and just definitely made me want to put my A game on. I know back then it was actually a push to get me started doing more and more actually documentation and coming out of the shadows and more into the networking limelight. So, and that's
awesome. Thank you.
That's where the group is. Yeah.
Hell of a compliment.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. I remember talking to you and actually talking about future plans and stuff. And here we are. We got the Lost Cryptids group, and we went to Florida. And
you're doing it. You're not only doing it, but you literally had like what basically adds up to what could only be an encounter from your eyes. Whether the film clearly shows that, it remains to be seen. But I mean, if the thing looked at you and had a head, it's probably what we were looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're talking about what I had seen cross this trail in Florida.
Oh, am I supposed to be talking about that?
Oh no,
Terry it's too late now.
Oh man! Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert! It's Mark Zaskey's fault. Hi, Josh. By the way, everybody say hi to Josh.
It's already been talked about, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, it's all good. No,
talking
you.
about it and talking about it in very general terms. So,
yeah. So it's all
general
good. It's all
terms. Yep.
Yeah, we definitely did.
It's
document.
exciting. It's very exciting. It's
Oh,
very,
it sure is.
And it will be definitely coming out for you guys to check out and see. And I know firsthand, it definitely.
I can't wait to
It's
see
pretty
it.
dramatic. It's dramatic firsthand.
My back was faced to it. I'm so mad. I'm standing like 10 foot from Blake. I'm like right there. And he screams. And it's like my back's, I'm facing the other way down this trail. I was bummed. But I was with you, Blake.
I almost didn't see it. The creature itself, it's always concentrated on where you're
We
looking.
can't caught a creature.
It's whatever.
It's an unknown. It's an unknown. So
It has to be stated that way. Only I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, but it was awesome, and we had a lot of activity in those areas where you researched, and you were spot on the money, man. You led us right there, and everything started happening. So that first night, especially that first night, was pretty profound.
I'm really glad that things worked out for you guys, because when I've traveled a lot in this cryptozoological thing, and there's a lot of times when you travel where it's should have been here yesterday kind of shit, and so
right.
It really did turn out to be that you guys got to witness at least some of what goes on in that area consistently. The large number of people, I think, threw them off, man, at that time, and I don't think they're used to having that many people coming in there.
We hit them hard, Mark. We hit them hard. I mean, we went right into. I was right in that campground one area, walking that canal between the power lines and walking. I was walking. Oh, we hit them.
Yeah, no,
We got some good stuff. I know we had a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of evidence to go through. I'm pretty amazed with what everyone was seeing and stuff, not just
Yeah.
There's a whole variety.
Also, I was amazed at the activity around the campground in particular. It really was. It was, I was like, wow, it's panning out the way it pans out in other places, which is, it's a good thing for our data. I mean, looking at it, it's like, we came in and I literally was lecturing on that at the meeting on the first night, and they did do what they were predicted to do, which is huge for us, man. This was a huge thing for Crypto Reality to just capture what we did capture, even with the limitations of our cameras. The first night when we were staring at something on a heat signature that was that huge, Josh, are you kidding me? Like, man, listen, when I looked up at that tree, this thing had squared off shoulders. I literally saw this thing get in position where it laid down on the branch and hugged it. And you could still see the arch where its body was angled, where it went up to its shoulders, and there was like a dome above it, like just a little bit though, almost like the head was down on the shoulder, so you only saw like a little bit of the top. It was crazy, man. I was looking at this through the thermal, and I'm like, where is everybody? And it turned out everybody was starting to go out there. And so there was a lot of stuff going on, man. When I saw that in that tree, I almost literally thought somebody was screwing with us, because it was so like blatant that it was like, this is the biggest heat signature I've seen since the thermal encounter I had with Scott Hunley and my wife. You know what I mean? I was like, it's never this simple, you know what I mean? But it turned out that they were in that tree line. There's some interesting audio coming out of that tree line. I don't know if you guys had a chance to talk to anybody that recorded, but there's some strange stuff on that audio, man. And it seems to be in the same areas that my film and the shots that I have, the clips that I have, are showing these primate or relic-hominoid faces peeking around stumps and trees and coming through the bush, and so I don't know, man. The symmetry's too right on. The behavior and the places that we catch them is exactly where we predicted. The temperature variations, everything lined up. And it was like kind of a shock, because I didn't think with that much activity, I thought it would freak them out, man. It was like a friggin' circus there, man. We had generators and all that stuff going, and you would think it would be the opposite, but it just seems to pull them in,
Well, it probably didn't hurt. There was a big old horse party, and there was like 90 people riding horses all around that field either. That might have attracted them too. We might have got lucky there.
Yeah, and then, there's the other side of it. The other side of it is we got all this evidence, and it's like, okay, you're coming in, like even in the lineup tonight, the way we're positioning, we're not supposed to make these judgments, but the guy that consistently films the hominoids is saying that this is what it is, and then here's the track the next day, and then here's this other stuff being manipulated, and now we have the audio. Guys, it's starting to pile up. It's starting to pile up, and like what you were talking about, Dave, is starting to happen. Like it's coalescing. You know what I mean? And then what was the word that you used?
A nexus.
It's beautiful.
A nexus of all the activity, as far as the pictures go, the footprints, the cast, the DNA. You add them all up together, and then you remove any kind of question that the opposition can raise in the matter. So that's where we really need to be as far as putting the ball farther down the field in terms of research.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I feel real good about it. In addition to that, a lot of the stuff that we've done in the last 7 years and the samples that we've taken are also going to be contributed to this aspect of this study and case that we got going on here. So the DNA traps that I have that were collected properly are all going to be submitted to as a matter of what's going on down here in Florida, because that's ultimately what 168 is about, what's happening in Florida. And so we intended to contribute all of this stuff that we can, that we have, that we've been waiting for something, like this to come up. So we have all those samples that'll be, you'll be able to test and move forward on that stuff too eventually, So we're excited, man. We're excited. We're excited about it. I mean, when you look at what's going on here, it's so many different minds coming at it, and so many different people with different disciplines and different types of careers. It really was something being there and trying, seeing how it worked when we were in the field. It was really cool. Everybody was doing really good. I mean, I don't know much about what went on at that primitive campsite. Does anybody have any information about did the equipment record any audio?
I don't know.
Because the campsite was bugged, right?
We recorded plenty of stuff, so we dumped it all. It's a matter of reviewing it, and just like the cameras we had running from camp on the tree line, God only knows what's there. It just needs to be reviewed. We might have gold in those films, and we don't even know it yet.
Noel got some really interesting vocalizations from the tree line, and that's what he, that was what I gathered from the way he displayed it to me, that it was the tree line. Mm-hmm. And we all know what that's about. That's the camp tree line. That's what we were all talking about, that tree line, not somewhere else. And he was specific in labeling different things that, he was showing me from his recordings. And I can tell you there's chatter in it, and there's some really crazy sounding I mean, it's just like, what? You would think you guys would have been hearing it kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, man, how did nobody hear this? It's like, sounded like a scream or something, Mm-hmm. And it's like crazy because it sounds close to the audio a couple times, maybe even like where they were investigating it, that kind of thing.
Well, what I can tell you for sure is that Christopher was very meticulous in how he kept and arranged his data. So I think that whatever data he presented as being the recordings, that I have no doubt in my mind that's when and where and how it happened.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree the same thing. And, I look at everybody that submitted, and, the whole process, it was all done like that and supervised and
exactly,
dated and logged properly and everything, So
exactly.
I feel really confident about a lot of the stuff we did. And I think this is a great first effort. You know what I mean? to start out the collection of evidence that's eventually,
I think it was a
add to it.
A great effort that will only get better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Go ahead, Josh.
yeah.
Can you even hear me? I haven't even checked.
Yeah, we
No.
can hear you.
No,
Yeah.
I don't hear
I know we learned a lot from you, Mark, and I really appreciate that. Just wanted to say thank you.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys coming down, and you're welcome, and you guys are welcome anytime. I was telling Dave and Chad, you already know, man. And in the end, this is about what we're doing and where we're headed with it. You know what I mean? So I'm more than willing to do anything I can, to help forward this.
Well, we appreciate it more than you know.
Awesome, man. That's great.
And we look forward to more in November.
Yeah,
for sure.
Before.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good thing about this whole situation is that they don't seem to have a viable means with which to deal with them. So they're not going anywhere. That's the good thing. You know what I mean? If they were going to go somewhere, they'd have gone already. You know what I mean? Especially from natural selection or something like that. But what we're seeing is they're so embedded in these environments that the burning out that they do and the management of how they're managing, they manage where they can be to an extent, right. And that's about it. So
we've seen
the burns and all that stuff. I got people calling me right now, man, watching burns all over this county and in a couple different places. And there's been activity in all of these places, and management is coming in where there's development and construction, and they're all doing the same things. They're burning the thickest areas closest to the construction sites, and they're pushing the Squatch back. There's tracks around all these things that are going on in these construction sites. There's vandalism. There's all this stuff, and everybody's freaking out, doesn't know what it is. It's like it's humorous, man. It's humorous watching it. And what's happening is the same thing that happened in the 1970s from Lake Okeechobee southbound, where they developed all that wilderness from the coastlines to the interior of the state of Florida. They're now starting to do that in the next closest northern sector of the state of Florida. And it's still all cattle country and rural and undeveloped. Well, they're starting to log it and develop it, and they're building huge cities and communities. And the same exact dynamic that happened with these hominoids in the southern regions of Florida is now occurring in that belt. You're getting reports around construction activity, logging activity. You're finding tracks. I got guys all over this down here, man, and they're doing a great job. Jimmy's actually on this. Jimmy Barr. Jimmy's on this, man. He's, and Mike too. Mikey's on it too. Flashlight Mikey. That's what I'm calling him now because he got the flashlight. Not that I'm saying Flashlight Mikey. It's kind of funny, but. The whole thing is like awesome because these guys have taken it upon themselves to monitor these situations. And this is like, look, man, from a Sasquatch research standpoint, this happened in the past. It's now happening again. This is like, we have real-time opportunity to study this. And I'm so glad these guys have taken it upon themselves to, at least begin the investigation in these areas and see what's going on,
Yeah, that's awesome. And Jim was a great guy. Busted through the forest with us, no problem, and on his own. And he had definitely a keen eye. He definitely found some great DNA evidence.
There's a lot going on down here, man. A lot going on down here. Yeah. Michigan too, right? I mean, what do you guys get up there?
It's different, Mark. It's different.
It is. It's very different. Yeah.
We have them here, but it's not like how they are there where they're bottlenecked and they're familied all together. We have to search for areas where they leave signs and find their families and then camp in those areas to get interactions. Where in Florida, it's totally different. You can go walk out and just walk right darn near into them.
Yeah, here you can do that. Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of room. So up there, there's an expanse.
Yeah, they can just go travel across the state if they want.
Have you guys been able to nail them down?
They're abundant. Yeah, I have a couple areas, and we have several areas that they're nailed down in. And we have Val Zavala, which you'll meet. That profiles them and does a database and time, date, and takes reports. And actually, any fresh report he sends us too, and we get to be the first people on the scene.
Oh man, oh that's cool. So you guys are investigating.
Oh yeah.
What's your craziest investigation to date that everybody went to? Has everybody been able to go to one, at least one?
Hey, this is our show, Mark. So,
oh, I'm sorry.
No,
well, no, I'm just saying because I never. That's funny.
Come on, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, come on.
Pull a carry on.
I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm just looking like.
Dave wants to talk. Mark. Dave wants to talk. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk.
Please.
Why don't you tell him? Why don't somebody tell him about one of our last ones that we took, where it was northwest of Detroit, and there was a Squatch from a hunter who said, 2 weeks ago before I saw this thing, I would have called you guys crazy.
Josh was there. He knows.
Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Josh. Tell us, buddy.
When we went out to investigate that, you just by talking to the guy, you could really tell he was legit, being honest. You could see it in his eyes. And like he said to me and Val that if we would have met him before his sighting, he would have called us crazy. But he basically saw one of these creatures cross the road right in front of him, right by a train track. And it scared him, and you can tell it scared him.
Train track.
Yes.
By his house too. It's right there outside of his property.
Yep. And when we went to investigate, we found a lot of tracks. I know I found some pretty decent ones in the snow. Because when we went to check it out, the snow was still on the ground. And he pointed out some spots where tracks were found. I know Kevin went out before we went out there, and he saw some tracks out there as well that he pointed out. And we had a chance to walk the area, and it gets pretty thick back in these areas, pretty thick and pretty swampy. There's a lot of bogs back there. There's a creek that runs through the whole park. We didn't get a chance to go all the way in the back. We plan on going back. But it's definitely an area that's got a lot of game trails, a lot of activity from different kinds of animals. I know in the snow, we could see a lot of deer. I know there was some unidentified scat that we found. We took a sample of.
Okay. Did you guys stand at the exact spot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, why wasn't the Sasquatch there? Did you guys were you able to put anything together, Dave?
As far as what? What do you ask?
Why was he there? Why was he crossing in front of that guy? What time of night was it? How big are the lots? Are they farms? What's the area?
It's a huge area. There's it's right on the edge of some farmland and woodland and park area that just goes on forever and ever.
So was he on the fringe?
It's thousands of acres that no hunting is allowed.
Yeah, but where he was seen, was he on the fringe, or was he a considerable distance from where he should have been?
I guess he pounded on the windows and stuff. They think the kids keep saying that he was pounding on their windows.
The guy
when he saw
it walked across in front of him.
He was in his vehicle.
Yes,
and I'd say it was. I think the way he explained it was only like 10 feet from the front of his car. He got a good look at it, and it was during the day.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. See, this is unusual, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say that's kind of unusual.
It stood very tall in relation to the railroad crossing sign, like the yellow caution sign.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual behavior. Was there an event in the area somewhere right there? Any kind of an event, a natural disaster, anything like that?
He mentioned that they were doing some construction recently, not far from that spot. I believe it was either a quarry or they're building something.
There was a gravel pit.
Yeah, they were doing something.
They were digging.
They were working on some machinery. He mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, man? It might be worth you guys investigating that area or the outlying, areas over there. I don't know, man. All right.
Stop, man.
I'm gonna stop.
No, you're fine.
No, it's definitely
You're right.
a prominent report. It's very recent. The guy is very scared. He if the activity continues to happen around his house with his kids, he's probably going to move. Is what
That's
he said.
what he's.
So,
Yeah,
Wow.
he's
that
ready
bad?
to.
Wow.
Yeah.
it's that bad for him.
This dude's a Middle Eastern. Well, he's a veteran of the wars, everything. So this guy has seen some stuff in his life,
Marine.
and it really shook him up.
Yeah,
Wow.
talking to him, you can tell it really bothered him. I know when we went to visit with him a few days later, he said he's still trying to wrap his head around it.
He still calls us and talks to us daily. He calls me or messages me. He calls Val. Does he call you? Either any of you guys? Yeah, on
No.
occasion.
No,
Yeah.
he's in touch and stuff. But we
That's
do have
awesome.
some. We got some other areas too that are pretty crazy. We've had experiences with like orbs and stuff, actually, and flying lights on top of Sasquatch.
know-
too.
Eyes.
I don't ever see
sightings.
that stuff down
Not-
here.
not-
I know
it-
me
it
and
might-
Chad had
might-
a weird experience one night.
Wow.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Blake.
No, it's all right. We get a variety of stuff going on here in Michigan.
Yeah.
I've seen a dog man here in Michigan. It was basically just a wolf, and it got up and ran. Has two back legs. Nothing
Really?
extra. Yeah, nothing extraordinary. It ran across the road in front of me.
I'm saying, was it digigrade or was it a wolf or was it human legs?
It was just a wolf.
But
If it
did
never would have
the
got
legs
up,
straighten out with knees or was it, you know what I mean?
it started running like a person, man. I don't know, man.
If I saw that, I'd probably faint, man. I'd probably faint, dude. Yeah. No, cryptozoology is a trip because, you know, man, it's like, okay, I've taken actual reports like that. I have. Not from Florida, though. Not from Florida. But that's, I mean, any footage of the incident or anything?
My GoPro is right there, but you know,
See, you
when it was
seem
crossing-
lucky like that. He seems lucky with encounters and recording them, like already. So I'd look for
man,
good things from Blakey on
He's
the old,
not
on
that
the field
lucky.
expeditions from now on.
He missed one with me just last year with
Oh,
James
that's
and I.
okay.
Yes, he just turned the camera off when James and I both saw it.
I possibly do have it on camera, but it's probably hiding.
I have a few of those in my repertoire.
Sorry, Blake.
Where I was like, you know, it's like they torture me at night for the last like 5 years. There's like maybe 25 of them where I should have had my camera on. I could have done
Right.
this. I should have, would have, could have, kind of shit. And then you realize that, like, you know, okay, well, they're real, so they're going to be there tomorrow. So you just go back and do it again. You know what I mean? And then they do it again. It's like, wow. So everything we're doing is surrounds what I would call like Pavlovian style experimentation, right? What we're doing is we figured that with the way Florida is tough and the way they manage the environments, that nutrition is probably a really interesting thing to them. And if they can figure out that they can get some nutrition from something that we can bring, then it's going to be of value, and we should be able to attain footage of these creatures and start to learn about them. And so that's what we've done. Our studies have been like visual primarily. You know what I mean? We want to see what's going on, you know? And so we get closer and closer and closer in areas like what you're talking about, where there's fresh ground to be investigated and like experimented with and all that. Those are like, I treasure that. There's nothing as sacred as the first couple days. You know what I mean? And really the first 24 hours. And even with you, Dave, and your experience in your career, you got to know that first 24 hours is so magical, especially where it comes to these types of reports, because everything's so fresh. Oh my God. And you get in there and you really, if you know about tracking, there's an abundance of things that you can pick off on if the encounter is really happening. And you can tell from an investigative standpoint. I can go to a house and tell you this guy's full of shit because I know what to look for. Know what I'm saying? They're real. So they actually walk and they leave tracks. It's real simple. And if something's going on, it's real easy to figure out, you know, what's going on like that. But these areas you're talking about, they sound so good, man. And I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do with this, man. This is like great because if you're attacking it the way you attacked at 168, you're getting it done, man. I was really impressed with you guys. You did great, man. You know,
we camp out in freezing, raining weather. We've go through swamps. We just like shoes on. We get to a swamp. Heck with it. We do. Honest. Yeah. Now you wanted a tough question, right?
Oh, bring me questions, yeah.
Okay. Well, this is from me, Mark, and it's kind of multi-parted. I mean, would the intelligence that we've figured out, people like you and us that know, and with like the things that they've done to you, like they've done to me, built me benches, they've stole your thermos and then returned it 2 weeks later in the same spot they stole it from, all those kind of shenanigans. But yet the things that have happened to you with your loss of time with Melanie, and all of a sudden you end up on the same trail and you're like, we just started here, how are we back here? Or you're getting sick and vomiting, or the things that have happened to Dave and multiple times to me where I've been almost incapacitated. Is Bigfoot doing the incapacitation, or are they just the little monsters in the woods that hide stuff? Is this all related? Is it actually paranormal? In your opinion, I know they're flesh and blood, like we all do here. But what is this other stuff going on?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you absolutely either way, but I can tell you what our experience from the expeditions and our observations show us, and then what we've captured on film, and curiously, what we haven't captured on film. The missing time thing, that was 5 years ago. And we were missing over an hour. There's no disputing that. And we had an adverse reaction to that fact. Okay. And it was traumatizing. And so I know for a fact that something happened to me. I can't explain that other than subsequently having done quite a bit of research on electromagnetic discharges. There's any number of contributing factors that can be explained geologically and environmentally for what happened there. Electromagnetic energy can have a really bad effect on your perception, first of all. And we've measured and taken measurements in the last 7 years that are way in excess of toxic levels for human beings. We're talking 5 milligauss is toxic for a human being, and we've been taking readings way over 100, sometimes over 200 milligauss, and they're anomalous. But in particular areas where we research, they have an effect on camera equipment, these fields, however they're being generated. I've been talking with a geologist for 7 years now about this, and there's an aquifer that runs the entire length of the state of Florida. Water, in particular, water that has salt or is surrounded by salt in limestone, can produce an electrical current. It's well known that there's discharge spots from geological discharge spots in places where the water starts moving faster. It generates a higher degree of electrolysis. And in the end, is that enough to talk about what is going on with these insane readings? Absolutely not. But it's definitely electromagnetic energy, and it is readable. The other aspect is, and I've become aware of this only since I've been operating aerial equipment. There's a field that the forest generates, and when you fly under the canopy with the drone, your resolution immediately drops if you do not have amplifiers for your radio controller, or amplifiers for your drone for the signal. I've literally looked at more footage of plants than anybody I've ever met, and probably most botanists, and I can tell you that there's a slight field around every leaf that you can see visually when you zoom in on it. It disturbs what's behind it. It's a field. What's generating it, I can't say. I suspect that it's minute electrical signals. All of this stuff goes on in the forest. In addition to that, in Florida, we have a very moist environment. And in the summertime, it can get in excess of 100 degrees. And convection in these areas inevitably produces electrostatic discharge. And so the forest is electric itself, right? I mean, is that overstating it? Sure. I'm saying it that way to kind of illustrate the effect of what it really is. But in the end, there's measurable electricity going on here, and it does affect equipment. So those are aspects of the environment, first of all, that most people are blissfully unaware of until they try to engage with these things and experiment repeatedly and find out that this is what's happening. But there's something else, and something that likes to touch game cameras and has hands and unties knots and does things also seems to disrupt camera feed. And I know this for a fact because my game cameras, I've had hundreds of error files where you can see that the game camera starts to fritz a little bit, and then the camera's moving. And what's happening is the knots that are holding it onto the tree are being untied. And I've literally gone in and put this camera on this same tree at least 7 or 8 times and had this thing untied. And I'm catching these faces, these hominoid faces right there. You know what I mean? So these are the areas where we've tracked them. We pulled hair, we've caught them on film, and now somebody with hands is untying the knots, right? We think it's them, so we continue experimenting with game camera options and trying to double blind them and trying to triple blind them, and every possible military strategy I ever learned when I was in the military. I'm trying to employ everything for reconnaissance on to find out what's going on, and every single one of these game cameras is perfectly fine until whatever comes around them and the feed gets disrupted and the bait's gone when the camera comes back on and the footage is unreadable. So I know there's something going on with the Sasquatch. Personally, having had talks with several different biologists and Dr. William Lester about this, our theory is to give a starting point on what's going on with the Sasquatch and their ability, if it's them, their ability to disrupt this game camera feed, which is nationwide. It's probably worldwide phenomena for Sasquatch research or hominoid researchers that game cameras it's doing this. And here's the interesting part. I've uncovered FCC regulations that require your device to be interfered with. There's literally regulations, and you can go on Patreon and you can see this whole thing. I did a whole breakdown on how the FCC requires companies that build game cameras and other electronic devices to make sure that they can still be interfered with by electromagnetic disruption.
Yeah, thermals.
So there's literally FCC laws governing the devices that we put out there so that the Sasquatch can disrupt them. Because it's simple to harden a device. So we can end this argument very simply by putting some dollars into hardening some game cameras, because and not only that, was it you that had the plot watcher, Josh? Somebody had a plot watcher, no infrared light. Those are great, man. Disguise them, that kind of thing. But in the end, what we're dealing with here is, and this is the baseline theory that we're going off of at Crypto Reality. The bone density alone to have to support what I saw and what I've seen and what I've seen in action would have to be significantly higher than human beings. And with that comes a higher mineral content. And more than likely, the sheer metabolism and size of this creature produces a field that is probably equal to what a human being produces, except, you multiply it with size and all that stuff up. So we're looking at things with super metabolisms, and they would have to do what I've seen them do. I have a sneaking suspicion that they can, when they're excited, increase the energy that is possible that they're releasing, man. I don't know how else to explain the fact that I'm filming hominoids, collecting hair samples no one can identify. I've literally had more DNA traps unscrewed than I have chewed up by raccoons. And you get them and the lids are back on and they're empty. Peanut butter jars. This is not easy to get out. You have some long fingers to get everything out of these jars. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at signs that I'm dealing with hominoids in visual imagery and samples that I can't, you know what I mean? All across the board, every gambit of evidence that we have. So I think it's safe in my experimentation to assume that they have something to do with what's going on with my game cameras, since the game cameras are literally planted in the same bushes I'm filming them and collecting the hair and making the tracks and filming and doing all this other stuff. So in looking at it, we think that the Sasquatch have a super metabolism. We think they have a super immune system, like reptiles. When Gene and Francis came through in 2004, a couple of the staph infections and MRSA went rampant across the state of Florida, and millions of people were infected by antibiotic resistant staph and MRSA infections. And these things can kill you, man, like real quick. And so they were looking into, how can we make stronger antibiotics? And literally a guy found in American alligators something that in their immune system that literally kills swamp bacteria. You know what I mean? And so we think that these creatures that have evolved in these areas can take care of themselves with that. And I don't think that's an irrational assumption, being that I've seen it and it is real. I know it exists. And so we have to now begin to try to explain how, right? And so that's what we've been trying to do. We're getting closer visually. And in the process of that, we're dealing with these anomalies that Chad's dealing with. And we're trying to keep it baseline simple so that our experimentation and the information that we're putting out doesn't become contaminated with like a bunch of ideas and hypotheses that originate out of science fiction. We have to begin at the simplest explanation and then move forward. If I was in your position and I had seen some of the things that you had described, like the orbs, I think that I'd probably be out of Sasquatch research by now. I haven't had to deal with that. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, man, I just, or some people describe the telepathy thing where, they're communicating with you and all of this. And it's like, I've never experienced anything like that. And I've been close to them on a lot of occasions, you know what I mean? And like, so I oftentimes wonder why it is, that, we don't experience that in the field. I thought it was possible that some of you guys may have experienced it when you're here in Florida, but, that still remains to be seen. We'll see,
Right. I know that I had an experience out there. Again, I'll just say it's something I wasn't expecting, something I didn't ask for, but I got it anyway, and now I have to deal with it and kind of try to figure out what happened and what it was all about. And it was definitely different. Something definitely happened. So I think there's a heck of a lot of stuff going on in the swamps down in Florida, and it's worth coming back.
Yeah, there's a big mystery to it.
I was genuinely shocked that you said that you had experienced what you experienced, Dave. I was genuinely shocked, and I talked to Melanie about it, and she was shocked because we just don't usually have that. Now, here's the thing: I've never been in that part of that area where that had happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
When we went back, there was an instant where we thought we had something on thermal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I ask myself these things, because I've been around them when they're pissed off, and it is uncomfortable. And I've had one where something was pounding on the ground, and we were a good 30 feet from it, and it was Melanie and I both felt it through our boots. It was coming to the ground, like it was something really big. I look at those situations, and there's something going on out there. And I think that there is a phenomenon, but Sasquatch is not a phenomenon. You know what I mean? This is a species. You know what I mean? And I do understand that it's really simple to put a bunch of stuff on because it's there and it's unexplained so far. But I think that with here's the other thing. I'm hearing things coming out of other camps now where people are coming forward with some, and I'm talking about reliable people that are saying things now. And I think that eventually what we're going to see, and I hope that, somehow I've come full circle and I've answered this fucking question. The reality is I think we're going to see that these phenomena are real, that these phenomena are being confirmed by people who are credible. And this is in the near future here. And I think that there's going to be a lot more to what's going on here. I know that our data points at the hominoids being very simple, no tech, using things in environment. We find these things, you know what I mean? Like the shelters, the structures, the little makeshift tools that they make to pick at the palm trees to get the worms out. All the little things that they do, you see it all when you're out there. It's there to see. I just don't understand why people are reporting all of this and we're not catching it on film. We're seeing it, you know what I mean? We did see what appear to be drones, and they're being used by someone in a secretive way without running lights. But I think that's a man-made thing, So
I was going to ask you about that, the drones, and then also the metal boxes out there that you've seen. What do you think that's all about?
Well, I know what weather instrumentation is. Scientists do things very specifically to their discipline. And I've learned to identify these things in the wild, and there are biological experiments going on, and you can see the type of gear, and you can see what they're trying to measure, and you can see everything that's going on. And they're typically set up in areas where there's a post. In these areas, it's on a post and it's up higher. They know there's critters, and you can see whether it's a rain gauge, a wind gauge, if it's multi-instrumental, all of these different aspects of whatever equipment happens to be there. These boxes are different. I assumed, and there was a lens on the front of one of them, but I assumed that there was another purpose to these boxes. I felt like we need to be quiet right now and let's not have any conversations around this equipment. I don't want to say anything around this equipment. Let's evacuate the area. This is strange to me that it's in here. It wasn't just that though. It was the way it was secured. The way it was secured was with chain that was it was ridiculous, man. You know what I mean? And I kept thinking to myself, okay, well, this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. Scientific stuff, they never have that. You know what I mean? So whatever this is, somebody's afraid it's not going to be here when they come back. Obviously, because this is chained with something you could pull a semi-tractor trailer with. Why they would need it, literally, if they knew anything about what was in there, they would know that he'll break the tree like a toothpick and pick it up by the chain. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? These things can do this, right? I have talked to these people. It is their box. They are in there studying. They will never admit it. They will eco-engineer the environment to keep me out. You can believe that because they did do that. They eco-engineered. They literally took a trail that was curved and straightened it and put cameras on both ends so that you can't get in or get out or study anymore without them watching you do it. And in the end, if I was doing nothing, then what do you care if I'm in there with my camera? If there's nothing for me to find, if there's no hominoids, then what are you going through all the trouble spending taxpayer money to surveil the area? What's the big deal? I'm just another guy walking on a trail, right? Isn't that what they said that in the meeting? There's no such thing, right? Isn't that what it is? No, but this is that bullshit game that we have to play. You know what I mean? And this is why it takes what Dave's talking about doing for us to get anywhere. You know what I mean? In these, it's interesting because you can take the most morally sound individual and put them in a fucking government organization, and instantly absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's bullshit, man. And people go along with it. And these people are going along with it. And they are studying these creatures. And I did meet with them. And I did see evidence that that's what was going on. In addition to that, to what happened afterwards to my research area. You know what I mean? So it's I get disgusted by it. You know what I mean? I really do. Because
So,
we're talking about something that belongs in the family homininae, man. You know what I mean? It's not like
exactly.
an owl or some shit. You know, not that the
Yeah.
owl people don't deserve respect. You know,
What do you think the ultimate goal of theirs is? Are they studying it? Are they trying to eliminate it for more population growth in Florida? Like, it seems like they're doing a little bit more than just exterminating the population.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the longer there's no public oversight, then they can do whatever they want. That's the ultimate goal. In programs like this, no public oversight is the ultimate goal. So anything they can do to maintain that, including contacting, corrupt senators in the 1970s to pass bills in secret and run them through by committee. I have documentation of all these things, man. These people, this dude in the transcript says, I want unanimous support across the board for this bill. And everybody, all 8 of them agreed to it. It's like, you see these things, and yet we don't see the law. We see the action. We see the back end of it. You know what I mean? I look at it like this, right? Like, in the end, the opportunity to usher the species quietly into extinction is there. Can they do it? No, I don't think they can. I don't think they can, and I don't think they want to. I think there's way too much we can learn from these guys right now. And the other aspect is they can't just come out and say, yeah, there's big giant fucking monkeys in the bushes and we don't know shit about them. You know what I mean? Like, why would they say, who's going to do that? You know what I mean? They're not going to do that. They're just not going to do that. So, and the reality is they probably know everything that they need to know. And knowing what I know, which is a considerable amount about what goes on in those bushes, there's a lot of it that really the general public is not going to stomach well. There's a lot of what goes on and how they live. It's hominoids, guys. Dave, you can attest to this. Human beings that are supposed to have been civilized and domesticated are capable of horrible, horrible things. What do you think something with no moral code is capable of? They don't know about religion. They don't know about the next man and helping people. You know what I'm saying? These things are just there doing what they do. You know what I mean? So,
Speaking of that,
I look
Mark,
at some of it and it's like, it's hard to stomach knowing what I know and having seen some of the shit I've seen. But in the end, it's like I was telling Dave, I would rather live in the truth and be fearful of it than bullshit myself and live in some illusion or delusion, which is basically what the construct is. It's delusional. I mean, you can't log on anywhere and not see it. It's pathetic. It's so obvious now. It's pathetic. We're becoming a parody of ourselves in this construct. It's like ridiculous. You know what I mean? You look at it, it's like, I feel actually better grounded out there in what's real. And it's strange now, but when this becomes uncomfortable, I mean, what do we do now? You know what I mean? It's like,
Mark,
Dave, we touched on that a little bit last night, but just thinking about it, it's there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Mark, it's in my experience that 90% of stuff that happens out there, people never know about. They only find out, the general public only finds out about the 10% that those in power want them to know. The rest of it, you'd be really surprised and shocked, and I think the public would be too, of what's out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Chad has been with us on a couple of different expeditions, and now you guys have come, and I just know there's a lot more to be uncovered here in the state of Florida, and Crypto Reality's on it, dude. I'm not backing off. So
we're with you. We're with you, man.
Yeah.
Just call. Now, you mentioned something, and maybe for a beginning researcher, I believe this is important, Mark, because of your experience and what you have experienced. Recommendations, I mean, you don't just go run in the field like we do. You don't just go chase stuff in the bush, or do you? I mean, if you were to start researching, I mean, always be filming's the number one. That's the number one rule.
Yeah. No, what we do is in the beginning, I knew a general area because I'd seen the guy, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go in here and we're going to try to look, you know, because here's the thing. This thing is here. And then we started finding his tracks. And when we started finding big tracks, it was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to leave, you know what I mean? So we had to get used to, hey, we just bought all this equipment and like now we have to go use it. Right. And so that took on a whole thing. And then I had to teach myself how to use the programs and all that stuff. But in the end, you know, I look at like the hiking part of it as that was the part that I hated because it's like 100 degrees all summer long and we're doing 11 miles one Saturday and then Sunday we do 8 more. And then, you know, you're counting up miles, man. So what I started to do was get curious what was beyond our reach. And it just happened that I started using satellite to my advantage at that point. And so I was comparing satellite. And so how does this pertain to your question? In 2015, we developed enough data so I could look at satellite and determine the best areas we would find tracks. And basically where it begins is water seeks the lowest point. If you know what I just said, you'll always be able to find a group of these things if they're in the area. If you got an area you think these things are in there, just remember, water seeks the lowest point and try to find it. And they're going to be somewhere around there. And so when I started to use that, I realized that when I found the water, it was 5 to 7, maybe even sometimes 10 to 12 degrees cooler where I was. And I was like, man, it really sucked being a human on the way out here, but this is like kind of like air conditioning up in here. You know what I mean? I could kind of see like something could stay in here. And it was funny because like right around that time, you start hearing branches breaking and footsteps cracking and all this. So I started recording patterns and I noticed that when I got into these areas that were 5 to 7 degrees cooler, I started hearing branches cracking and all this stuff. So we bought a good camera because we wanted to see what it was. And it just went one step at a time. But I mentally record everything because I have an analytical mind. And so I'm recording all of this stuff and processing all of it and then looking at satellite photos. And then the next thing you know, we're only walking 1,000 yards right to the group. And that's how I did in one spot. And then I started comparing data to other places. I started helping people in other states. And then I started doing it live. Like I did it live for on Crypto Reality on Patreon. A guy pulled a satellite photo and emailed it to me of, I don't know, 100 square miles. And I pulled it and said, this is where I would go. And he went in and found tracks and has hair samples for us to test. So it's working. And it's all based on that water thing. And it's funny because I can remember one of the earliest films I ever watched was Boggy Creek. And you always know, and the narrator says he always sticks to the bottoms. He always sticks to the bottoms. Mm-hmm. He always sticks to the bottoms, talking about the Bigfoot in Boggy Creek. This is truth, man. It's truth, and we confirmed it in data. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, man. The walking and the hiking and all that stuff changed once we had them, because I just started tearing shit up, man. I was whipping saplings around. And I was trying to act like, you know, I was going to tear the area up. And instantly we were made aware that that was not going to be okay. And that's how we realized, like people in the bushes, man. And so I had to know whether it was homeless people or if it was what we were thinking it was. And that was, you know, right then I'm like, okay, well, it still could be people. We have to do something here. You know what I mean? And in all of the time, in 6 years, I've never seen a homeless person out there, man. You know what I mean? I've caught hundreds and hundreds of images, though, of hominoid bone structure in the same bushes I thought the homeless people were in. So, but we stopped hiking. When we find a group, we stop hiking. We go straight to them. And that's, you know, what it is, because we're working the visual side of this, trying to explain where they go and why it is that I know this thing is right there, and like I'm looking at something, but I don't understand what it is because it looks like a cuttlefish kind of or something. You know what I mean? Like we you know, if you guys know because you're members of Patreon, like this is what we're covering, that side of it. You know, how are they staying off everybody's radar? We want to explain all this for you guys. You know what I mean? So.
In that environment, it's not that hard. You got those pawpaw bushes; they can hide in those bushes, man.
Yeah. Who was it that went in and confirmed, like in the area, they were digging the trenches? Like I was talking about, they dig these trenches underneath the saw palmettos. And you witnessed something slinking across the trail. Well, they like to slink on their hands, man. That's how they move most of the time in there. You know what I mean? And when you go in there and you get to smell, and there's no hogs, man. There's no hogs.
That was the four of us: Josh, Dave, Blake, and myself, and cameraman Todd. We went right in and we found. I mean, we had to fight through the stuff. I fell down twice, busting through these palmettos. Then we got in there, and it was just like a fortress.
Yeah, they go in there and they do stuff, man. And if you find the largest patches that are anywhere you go, if you're in an area and you guys have found a track, like let's take the campground, right? Get on satellite and look around the campground and find the thickest, biggest cabbage palms and then go investigate them. I guarantee you're not going to like what you find. When you go in this thing, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. So to be like, there's something in here, man. There's something orchestrating this place. The branches are broken. They're bent. Everything's woven. And it's like, you know, you get these huge holes in them. And that's, you know, it smells like hominoid in there, you know. It's got that smell. It doesn't smell like anything else. It's them, you know.
Yeah,
Todd kept saying it smelled like snakes. It smells like snakes. It stunk, but I didn't think it was snakes. But that's what he kept saying.
It's oily reptilian kind of smell.
I thought it smelled like pigs. I thought it smelled like a stinky animal. But he thought it smelled like snakes.
I don't know.
Hard to say. Yeah, they're definitely traversing the area way better than a human. I mean, you could break your leg, and the way those trunks zigzag and grow up, you're not running through that. On all fours is.
Oh, I can tell you what though, they tear through them really, really easy too. It's amazing. You know, if you ever have the opportunity to, and you like actually do what I just said, and you're in there, and there's a 15-foot pile of them. And it's 100 yards long, and you see a tunnel. That's what they do. They make tunnels, and they're big too. And I'm like, man, this is like an archway going into a church or something, man. It's like that obvious. You can see the manipulation, man. It's not natural. There's corners in it. The tunnel goes back. They'll weave these tunnels all the way through these things, and especially if you find one that's isolated and surrounded by water, because they apparently. In this research area that you guys were in, where everything was happening at night, there's a couple spots where I've been in there, and it seems like they're in there active. You know what I mean? So when you guys come back, I think that's a part of the investigation that I'd like to take you on. The cabbage palms, the big cabbage palms. So I think we really get some incredible audio at least going in there. You know?
I think that'd be great. And everything that we saw down there during 168 hours. Was very compelling. I think to the point that we need to come back and take another look at it and try for some more evidence, some hard evidence that no one can really dispute.
Yeah, well, I can't wait till you guys come back, man. It was great the first time, man. This time it's going to be better because we all have a better idea of what's going on and how to, you know, approach it. So I think it's going to be awesome.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And they're there in abundance, and they're you know, with the setup again, it should be even more active. Hopefully they actually remember us if we're at, you know, around the same areas, and they do. I mean, I seen that thing cross the road. Me and Christopher Noel were having interaction before that, and it came from that direction. So some good possibility of these things remembering certain people doing certain things in certain areas. So it'll be
day after day. Well, we know that they definitely respond to me and Mel. So I think they remember the apples and who brings them, like in our research campaign. So that's one good thing, you know. I would like it for you guys to have the opportunity to witness that. So the next time you come down, if Mel's feeling, you know, better at that time, I really want you to go into the field and witness her, you know, bringing in the group, and you guys can film the audio and record the audio and film the incident. You know what I mean? The last time we did it for Scott Hunley, and they immediately came in. It was an unnerving situation, man. We had the film is on Patreon. There's a tree break where we're wondering where do we throw the apple, and they usually will make a noise like break a stick or something, or, you know, smack the bushes or do something. This dude breaks a whole tree, man. And I'm like sailing the apple over in that direction. But it's like, it's incredible to like be there with them and experience this kind of thing. So next time I'm definitely going to bring you guys in there.
Well, it's definitely an honor for sure. And we're ready for it. I mean, as soon as we finally get back to Michigan, we're ready to go back, do it again.
You should have just stayed.
We almost did, guys. We almost did.
Oh, did you guys break down?
Florida.
Multiple, man. You didn't hear the story?
Oh,
No.
Oh,
What
come on,
happened?
Dave.
No, no.
Dave, tell them everything.
I'm not telling any story. You go ahead.
Is that why you said something about your truck yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now it all makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's why it's yeah.
And
Yep.
so that one's there, and then here's the new one. That was funny.
Right.
That was an interesting
Exactly.
conversation.
So we're in Florida, and you know, there's like this wheel shroud. It's like a fiberglass thing over the hub, like over where the wheels are, over the wheel well. Well, this thing flops off, goes underneath, slices the tires, sliced the one, shredded it, damaged the other one down to threads, which we changed.
Is that why you were talking about that incident?
No, that's not even anything yet.
That's
man.
not even that.
So we're on the side of the highway called AAA. They're not coming out. We do it ourselves. We're going down the road. We sleep at a rest area. We get up the next morning. We're taking off. We're like 30 miles, and Dave's van starts shaking. I'm like, dude, something's wrong. He's like, oh, it's okay. It's just the grooves on the road. And I'm like, no, something's wrong. Now we're driving for like an hour and a half, and I'm like, get off the highway, dude. And we're calling for a mechanic to look at it. We get off the highway. We're 3 miles from the mechanics, and boom. Blake's following us with Josh's vehicle in the camper because Josh's girlfriend happened to come down. Thank God. Came down in Medicine, northern Florida. Tire passes us. We're skidding off the side of the road in Dave's van. Generators are all flying forward, spilling gas.
Oh,
So tire pass. Now here comes Blake with Josh's vehicle and Dave's camper, passes us, pulls over in front of us, jumps out and starts chasing our tire across the sky.
Rolling down the road.
Yeah, he did. He literally
Rolling down the road, dude.
got out and started chasing our tire.
dude, that's classic.
No, it
Did you
gets
guys
worse.
shoot footage?
No, well, we got some. Okay,
Man.
so now
Ah.
this all
I got a few
happened.
pictures. I got a few pictures.
That's pretty
That-
funny though.
Thank God Felicia's there to come bail us out, and we're driving. I'm with Blake, and he's pulling the camper, and all of a sudden I'm like, dude, something's wrong. He's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, dude, there's a flat tire. He's like, I don't know. And he pulls over and he looks. He says, yep, there's a flat tire. So the front tire of Josh's vehicle pulling the camper blew also. No, this is from North Florida, not even through Georgia yet. It took us 2 nights. We stayed in Georgia 2 nights, southern Georgia and then northern Georgia, in a campground. Yeah.
Huh. Wow. And so is that all of it?
We almost stayed.
Is that all of it though? Is that all of it?
Did we miss anything, guys?
Am I muted?
The wire cut.
Can you
the
guys
wire-
see? Oh,
Wire being cut, and then the lug nuts on my van being loosened
dude, what's
very
up?
mysteriously, and that's why the wheel fell off in Georgia. We were driving along, and it just got progressively worse, and Chad saying, get off the highway, man. And I'm thinking there's no way that this thing is going to make it to the next exit. We got to take this exit.
Is the wheel on your trailer common, or is it special order?
Trailer or van?
Was it the van?
It was the van. It was the front
Whoa!
passenger.
Oh, okay.
Front passenger wheel of the van. The lug nuts were loose. They were
Holy.
loose at some point. So,
Wow.
and it might come back to that surveillance van back in camp that we had pointed out. That was when we were onto it. It came around a few more times while we were still there. Chad had seen it come through, and there was, I don't know what it is. So
Wow.
I think maybe
Man, that's crazy.
the government doesn't want me doing what I'm doing here, maybe, and they're sending me a warning. I don't know.
Wow.
But
Wow,
I
man.
think especially that wire being cut, which Blake saw, it was not in the middle. I'm sorry, it was not on either end. It was not corroded. It was cut in the middle.
Wow.
A fresh
yeah,
cut.
that's obvious. So
Yeah.
Tell them the good news, Dave, What's
that?
About your new truck.
Yeah, the new truck is locking lug nuts. so you know what? I don't think that's going to happen again, and it is. I think it's beyond coincidence.
Oh no, that's
beyond coincidence. So that's all I have to say.
It's like there's such thing as a coincidence, but they're rare. It's like, you can really probably just go off of there are no coincidences and still be right most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of the time. But I like tomorrow I'm offshore tomorrow. So, anytime we go offshore, it's like nerve wracking. It's just nerve wracking. We're going for Marlin tomorrow, and it's like,
sure.
I look forward to it. I love being out there, but it's always nerve wracking. For some reason nowadays, it's like, I don't know. The carelessness of my youth is gone. You know what I mean? So, any more questions?
Do we have any questions in chat there, maybe, or?
Yeah, I'll take a look. Don't
tap me, man. One of you guys ask him a question, because.
Go ahead, Chad.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about hair, Mark. Let's talk about really what you're finding. Not all of them appear actually totally clear, correct? Some of them actually have a tint to them, but they all magnify under ambient light. I'm going to let you run with that, buddy.
No, we have just about every hair color you can think of. But we also have clear hairs, and they appear to be at least a partial cross-section of every sample we've ever had. So we get jet black ones that appear jet black, even under the microcam. But they have very, very unique physical properties. And you know what it is? It really is that you can see, like I have one video where I do a comparison of my wife's hair, and then there's a Sasquatch hair. And they're lined up right next to each other. And the Sasquatch hair is 4.5 to 5 times the diameter of my wife's hair. But it appears to have the same characteristics as a human hair, in that the scale pattern is, you can see where it appears to be different colors, and I think they're minerals is the way I interpret it. The mineral content or the scale pattern, the way it shows on the Sasquatch hair is far more intense than the human hair, to a degree where any light source that is either moving or flashing or, and this is, again, an artificial light source, because we were wondering how it was that what we were seeing in the woods was like this, glowing and this weird, stuff. The hair additionally appears to come to life. literally, where the surface of the hair is moving like that, like it's almost like got waves on it, and it moves in waves. So when you see the creature in real time and it's under the canopy and there's diffused light hitting it from bouncing off the leaves, and then there are shafts of straight light coming down through the canopy, or if you were to see it in the open, especially, the hairs themselves would be moving, even though if there was no wind or anything, if the light's hitting it and there's the tiniest movement, the hair appears to come to life. So what happens when you look at a stationary object? You see a shape. But when the object is constantly moving, and it's moving in like little cilia all over it, like basically is what it ends up being, right? Because the hair it's not fur per se. What we've seen is hair. The shape is broken up in a way that, first of all, it's hair, so it breaks the shape up. But in light, you're supposed to be able to see the shape better. Well, this hair breaks the shape up in light to the extent where it just looks like they're a part of the foliage, because the foliage moving, well, so is the hair. And when the light hits their face, the achromatic coloration, the hues of white all the way to black and all those shades in between, they pick up and retransmit that diffused light. And so what you get is science fiction in real life. And you're staring at something that doesn't look real, if you can make it out to begin with. And I have had these experiences where I'm staring at this something, and I know it's something, obviously. And then all of a sudden, all the movement stops, and there's a Sasquatch standing there staring at me. And you can see it. And he's like looking at my clothes. Like the DNA trap that we're going to have tested, that was the scenario and how it played out before I closed the lid on that DNA. Mm-hmm. Dude was within 10 feet of it, staring at me through a hole in the bushes, and the light was playing on his face like a swimming pool plays on the concrete above on your ceiling. You know what I mean? Where you get that like light coming off the swimming pool and it's like moving. You ever seen that? Yeah. Right. On his face, man. And I was just like blown away by it. But the hair at least partially explained it. And then that sighting prompted me to begin looking into colors and why was this happening on this individual's face. And that's where, achromatic coloration is exactly what it is. Their skin is achromatically colored in most situations. I've had eyewitness had a reddish skin as well, but that's outside the norm. The norm is the black skinned or the gray skin kind of thing on his face. The white skin ones exist, man. And they're the hardest ones to catch on film and see. And what we also notice is that in addition to the stuff, and all of this is documented, like you can literally see hominoids' faces with this phenomenon happening in our work. You're going to see green looking hominoids, and that's what it is. Hominoid bone structure, man. If it was at this point, if we had ever filmed anything else in the bushes, then I'd question it. But right. This is what we're getting. So, and it lines up with what we've seen, and the data lines up with all that stuff, and the hair, and the experimentation that we show you on the hair lines up with what we're saying and what we're filming and everything else. So, amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. All of it was acquired at great cost. You can believe that. So.
Yeah. Speaking of hair, Jimmy Barr, person who actually did find some hair samples. Have we examined the hair yet? We have not, other than visual looking at it. I think we're not.
I'm looking for my microscope stand. Right. There's 2 stands to it, and one of them is missing, and I'm trying to find it. So as soon as I find it, I'm going to do the study. But I just couldn't even believe it, man. I went to go get my stuff and because I was first day, man, day one, I came home. I'm like, I'm looking at this hair right now. You know what I mean? Because I got the samples right all around. I'm like, man, I want to compare it, but I still have to find. I got sidetracked. We had like the AC blew up in our house, and so we've had that. We had to replace the air conditioning. It's been a nightmare, man, for like almost 3 weeks. So we just got that done. So now I'm back on track. And I'm gonna get that sample ironed out. You can believe that it'll be on film in comparison to our other samples, and we'll see what it is, So
Yeah, exactly. We hope to purchase a microscope ourselves, actually, and there's a few places I think Christopher Noel is recommending a place to do some DNA research and stuff. So I believe we're waiting on where exactly we want to send some of these samples to, and the eDNA.
Well, that's all huge too. This eDNA thing is huge. We were talking about doing it in 2017 when we first found this new spot that we've been working, and it was our last opportunity so far. The water levels have been up real high, so that isolated pool that's left over in the dry season that they seem to like be doing all kinds of stuff in. It had like an oil slick on it, man, where they've been, and there's hair floating and all this crap. I was like, man, we need to do eDNA. So when you come back, we will take a sample from that water source for sure. You know what I mean? We're not going to waste any opportunities. We're going to get this evidence, and we're going to see how it stands up to scrutiny. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have to. I think that's the way to go. Is this eDNA and getting more DNA and places that will actually be viable to test it and not lie about the results either, which is a big issue.
Well, if we can get the nuclear, we have a type specimen. GenBank has accepted her sample, so we can compare. We have a type specimen, so that was the hugest part of everything, right? Like so all of this, and this is the saddest part of it, right? We're going to take your sample into GenBank, but your career's over now. That's Dr. Ketchum, right?
Yeah,
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. Because if they had just taken it to begin with, when the argument was going on publicly, it would have been in her favor, and it probably wouldn't have ended her damn career. But they wanted a freaking signature for a HIPAA document from a Sasquatch. Think about that.
Right. Yeah, no, she had hundreds of DNA samples from a lot of reputable people groups and a lot of a lot of good things.
Politis had stuff in there. You know what I mean? A lot of people had a lot of really solid research went into that. Really solid, hard work too, getting those samples.
Years,
you know what I mean?
Years of research.
Yeah.
But now we have eDNA, and you know what? With our track that Josh had found that we cast, we took samples from within the footprint before it was cast or anything was done to it. And if we get some sort of matching DNA that comes up within that footprint, I think it goes a lot farther to prove what it is than just eDNA from out in the wild.
Yeah, well, how did we get Homo sapiens cognatus out of that footprint? That will ultimately be the question, right?
And hopefully the answer is not contamination.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that DNA in GenBank is from somewhere else and years old. Now here we are with the same stuff here in Florida, fresh.
Right.
I mean, come on, guys. You know what I mean? So at some point, ludicrous is it's like, I don't know though, because like I said, I'm watching everything that's going on, and the acceptance of a lot of what's going on right now is like, it's like there's no end to the amount of like baloney people will accept in America. And it's like, where the Sasquatch subject is concerned, this whole thing is backwards. Like, I got news for you. I'm in reality, and I'm sorry that you're not, but these things are real, and this whole thing is happening. And like, I'm sitting back in real reality, looking at the United States and America and all these people and all the crap that they believe. Remember, believe, right? Taking shit on faith. And it's sad, man. It's sad. Because and as crazy as that probably makes me sound to the sleepwalking masses, like I said, I'd rather be uncomfortable in the truth than full of shit in a lie. And that's really what's going on.
Well, I think that to encourage people to go out and find out the truth for themselves is the way to go.
Oh, sure.
Rather than be blissfully ignorant, as you put it.
Yeah, man.
Go get the truth for yourselves. Go out, go look at things. Just not in the Sasquatch field or field of study, but in other things as well. You'll find out that people only know about 10% of what's really going on out there.
That's like so true. It's so true, man. It's like, you know what? I always heard that, but it's in the last 3 weeks, it's taken on new meaning. I'll just put it that way. You know what I mean? 'Cause I was like, okay, well, everybody else says that, you know. It's literally like you can literally see it now.
Right.
Dave pounds it in my head. I know he pounded it in yours too.
Oh man, hey guys, it's late, man. I gotta go.
Hey, but before you go, Mark,
Yeah.
will you stay on when we close out and we do the outro? Stay on for a quick second.
Oh yeah, are you guys gonna end now?
Whenever Blake decides. Blake is boss.
I could take one last question if you guys want to do another one last question.
Don't tempt me, man.
Don't forget to
go
give
on for 30 minutes.
Don't forget to give shout outs to Crypto Reality, to give shout outs to Bigfoot Odyssey, to Val at Michigan Bigfoot Reporting and Data Center, and everyone else. So
how about our conference, the Michigan Bigfoot Conference? How about Patreon? We already did say Crypto Reality, but go ahead, do shout outs and let's end this. I want to talk to Mark.
Yeah, guys. Check out the MichiganBigfootConference.com. Check out the links we'll have for the conference. We're actually going to have Kerry Arnold himself going to be talking at the conference. We have Igor Boltsev now from Russia. He's going to be coming in. We got Cliff Brackman, of course, Robert Kreider, Adam Davis, Ken Gerhard. We got some paranormal people too. Got a whole woo room actually with cryptos. Woo, ghosts, UFOs, anything goes, Royal Rumble style.
And the Michigan Bigfoot elites, the Godfathers of Michigan Bigfoot.
Yep, Godfather Michigan, local BFR researcher Jim Sherman, Val Savala himself. We got a lot of great things going
Bob
on.
Daigle.
Yep.
Got him.
We're also going to have the Dewey Lake Monster Conference again in Sister Lakes, Michigan. It's 40 minutes west of Kalamazoo, Michigan. So check that out. Check out Crypto Reality, of course, on Patreon. Bigfoot Odyssey. Check out our Carrie and be on the lookout for the 168 hours coming in a couple months.
Rumor has it he may debut it at the conference.
Maybe.
Maybe. It's a lot of work to be done. A lot of evidence to go through, which is awesome, guys. So, well, thank you all for watching this live show. We really appreciate all your support. And
thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Yeah. It was great coming.
Great guest.
Anytime.
All right.